Level 1. You are awake before the alarm. You do not know why. The bunker hums at a frequency you can feel in your back teeth. 47 residents depend on you. You have memorized their names, their schedules, their food preferences, their allergies, their sleeping patterns. You were briefed, you were trained, you were told the surface was no longer habitable and that you were the most qualified candidate they had found. You believed them. You told yourself this is normal. You told yourself every underground shelter operator starts exactly like this, clipboard in hand, coffee going cold, 40 meters of concrete pressing down on you from above. You do your rounds, corridor A, corridor B, the hydroponics bay, the water filtration room, everything checks out. You write it all down carefully. You smile at the residents, they smile back. The routine settles over your shoulders like a second skin. Level 2. Weeks pass like slow water. You start noticing patterns. Resident 12 always sits in the same chair at breakfast, every morning, without exception. Resident 29 never makes direct eye contact with you. Resident 4 laughs too loudly and too often at things that are not quite funny enough to earn it. You tell yourself this is your job, noticing things, logging things. You add a second column to your logbook labeled behaviors, small observations, things that could mean nothing at all. Then a resident smiles directly at you from across the cafeteria, not at the room, not at the food on the table, at you specifically. The smile holds 1 second too long. You write it down. You are not sure why it unsettles you. Level 3. The first real test arrives in the early hours. A water pump fails in Sector 3. You fix it in under 2 hours and the water runs again. The residents applaud when pressure is restored. You feel good. You feel necessary and competent and in control. At night, you lie in your bunk and listen to the ventilation system humming above you and you think about the surface. You were told only that the event had occurred and that your job was to maintain order, comfort, and psychological stability for the duration. The duration has no listed end date. You check the manual again. You always check the manual again. The ceiling feels lower every morning. Level 4. You stop sleeping through the night. You tell yourself it is the disrupted light cycle and the elevated caffeine. You start mapping the social clusters on a large sheet of paper. Lines between names, who eats with who avoids whom, who whispers and then stops when you walk past. Groups forming and dissolving and reforming. You catch two residents discussing ration schedules in a tone that does not match casual conversation. You reduce the coffee allocation the next morning. You do not explain why. You watch to see who complains. Nobody complains. Level 5. Paranoia is a professional hazard. The manual says so on page 44. You underline the word yourself 3 times. You read the line over and over. You have started sleeping with the logbook tucked under your pillow each night. The residents have become extraordinarily cooperative, almost perfectly cooperative. They follow every new rule without question. They do not complain about the reduced rations. They do not argue with each other. They smile at you in the corridor. They always smile. And not one of them, not a single one, has ever asked when this is going to end. Level 6, the mutiny, if you can call it that, lasts 11 minutes. Resident 31 walks into the control room and asks to see the surface protocol document. You tell him it is classified. He stands his ground and takes one slow step forward. You close the blast door. You do not hesitate even for a second. The deep rumble of the door fills the whole bunker like a held breath finally released after months underwater. You sit back down in front of the monitors and watch. They stand outside the blast door in complete silence for exactly 40 minutes. Then they disperse without discussion. Then they go quietly back to their rooms. Dust falls from the ceiling like gray ash. You write it all down. Block 3, level 7. You find the signal on day 112. A transmission looping on a frequency you were never briefed to monitor. You almost miss it entirely. It repeats every 47 minutes exactly. 47. The exact number of residents in your bunker. You tell yourself this is a coincidence. You write down the first timestamp. Then you write it down again when it repeats. You begin triangulating the source. The signal is coming from inside the bunker, not from outside, not from the surface, from somewhere inside the walls themselves. Level 8. You pull all 47 photographs from the personnel files and pin them one by one to the wall above your workstation. You run red thread between the ones who regularly interact. The wall fills up fast. You stop eating regular meals. You calculate the monitoring gap data and find that every single resident has an identical 17-second blind spot in the zone coverage logs. Every single one. The same number, the same gap. You step back from the wall and look at the whole pattern at once. The threads make a shape you recognize from engineering schematics. A circuit, a closed loop, with no true entry point and no exit. You reach out and touch one of the photographs with your fingertip. The paper feels wrong, too smooth, too perfect, like something printed by a machine that has never touched actual photographic paper. The room is very quiet. Level 9. You zoom in on Resident 22, a photograph from the hydroponics bay taken on day 8. Soft light, warm smile. You load it into the enhancement software on the main monitor. You push the resolution to maximum. There it is. In the outer corner of her left eye, a small pixel cluster that should not exist, a rendering artifact, a seam, the precise kind of error that only appears when a simulation loses computational resolution at the boundary of a generated human face. Your hands are shaking badly now. You pull out the next photograph. You run the same enhancement, same seam, same location. You check every single one. The seam is in all 47. Level 10, Project Lazarus. You find the file buried in a partition you never had clearance to access until this exact moment. The partition opens on its own as you watch. The document is 3 pages long. You read the first line. You stop. You read it again. The bunker is empty. The bunker has always been empty. The 47 residents are procedurally generated behavioral stimuli designed to measure the psychological deterioration of a single long duration isolation subject under sustained existential pressure. There are no other survivors. There was no event. There is no surface protocol because there is no surface mission. You are not the operator. You are the subject. You have always been the subject. The hum in your back teeth stops. The screens go dark one by one. Somewhere above you, through 40 meters of concrete and silence, someone is writing down exactly what you are feeling right now.